The first time I had a hater comment on something I'd written, it felt like I just got kicked in the bollocks by David Beckham. Somehow it doesn't hit like a normal comment. It feels personal. Almost like you've had all your clothes stripped off, pause, and you've been forced to walk down a busy high street in a bustling city. You feel exposed. Whenever you get one, it's a harsh reminder that strangers online can be fucking brutal. And even if the comment isn't objectively bad, it can still sting harder than a paper cut. In this video, I'm going to tell you how to deal with haters. But first, just let me tell you about my first hate comment. I just started tweeting, and people told me that the best way to grow my Twitter account would be to comment under big accounts' tweets. They have eyeballs. By commenting on their posts, you get their eyeballs and you get their followers. That's the theory. It works sometimes. I found it to be a massive pain in the ass. Anyway, some guy's tweet appeared on my feed. I think he had like 20,000 followers. So I was like, oh, okay, this guy's got more followers. I should comment on his tweet. So I did that, and the guy was talking about like growing on Twitter, like it was growth advice. And I wrote something along the lines of, stay consistent. If you stay in the game long enough, you can't lose. And I was pretty proud of that tweet. I thought that was an absolute banger. But a few minutes later, I saw I had a notification. I was like, oh, I got a little bit excited. So I clicked on it, and someone had replied to my comment. And I was like, wow, okay, this is cool, this is promising, this is engagement, what they call engagement. So I went onto it, and my heart sank. What did they say? 20 followers, lol. Ugh. When I saw that comment, my heart broke. I was so upset. I thought that guy was the spawn of Satan. I was so angry. How dare this dude leave such a snaky comment, just making me feel bad. And, you know, the comment wasn't even that bad, but my ego turned it into this fucking huge battle. But what's really funny is, I did have 20 followers. This is something you need to understand about haters. They're mostly just creations of your own mind. In my case, I was just insecure because I wasn't a big account on Twitter and I didn't have that status. So when someone called it out, I felt super helpless. That's what ego does. It projects. It writes fan fiction about who you think you are, and then it tries to defend it like Helm's Deep. And I know that's kind of all over the place, but we're going to go into loads of different areas in this video. It's not just a simple case of do this and you won't be bothered by haters anymore. I've actually got 9 ways for you to deal with them, and they each get progressively a bit more advanced. So that by the time you reach the end of this video, you'll completely see haters in a totally different light. And if you're still here, make sure you stick around until the very end, because the final thing I'm going to tell you is really profound. And that's not just me saying that, it is actually profound. With that out of the way, let's get into the first point, which is the obvious one. You'll already know this one because it's what a lot of people say. They say, just ignore the haters, bro. And that's fair enough. You can just ignore the haters. On Twitter, you can block people. On Medium, you can block people. On a lot of these platforms, you can block people. If someone's clearly trying to provoke you and they're trying to get under your skin, you can just get rid of the problem by blocking them. If you think that's a bit of a diva move, then you don't have to block them, you could just ignore them. Because the #1 rule on the internet is do not feed the trolls. Now that that's out of the way, let's move on to the second point. That's the obvious done. The next thing is that I want you to realize if someone is spamming you with hateful things, if someone's really trying their best to hurt you, and they're making Hitler blush with the amount of hate they're spewing, that's pretty sad. Like, think about it. Think about them. They've got nothing better to do. Wouldn't you feel sorry for someone like that? I know it's hard to be impartial when they're hurling all this abuse at you, but when you really take a step back and you look at what this person is doing, it's tragic, to be honest. They've got nothing else to do. They've got nothing else in their life to enjoy, to have fun, to create, that they're spending all of this time trying to make you feel bad? I don't know, it kind of makes me feel sorry for them. Because when people are in a good place, they don't project hate. It's only people who are suffering that do that. So if someone's hating what you're doing, that's just sad for them. It's got nothing to do with you. After you've gotten these 2 obvious things out of the way, ignore them and feel sorry for them, I want you to ask yourself a question, and I want you to be honest. Did I try to get hate for this? In most cases, Probably not. When you post stuff online, you're probably not going out of your way to pull the cat's tail, right? And if so, that's great. But sometimes, maybe you were. Maybe you did something and you actually did deserve to be called out on it. Think about Logan Paul when he went to Japan. Think about any creator who got into hot water. In many cases, they actually had it coming. They were asking for it. They did do something which wasn't good, and people called them out for it. If your intention was just to make something interesting, creative, or helpful, then obviously you've got nothing to worry about. If someone hates you for that, that's just their problem. They're just weirdos. But, as I said, you need to be honest with yourself. Because there have been times where I've written things just to provoke people. And if I got called out for that, if I got hate for that, then I was kind of asking for it. So if you do get hate for something, and deep down you were doing something naughty, you may have got what you're asking for. But don't worry, because we're all capable of making mistakes. It's not the end of the world if you did this a couple of times. Your reputation will not be in the toilet if you do something silly once or twice. I mean, look at Logan Paul, right? Just as an example. He's been in hot water loads of times. He's still fine. But you don't want to be like him. You want to learn from your mistakes and you want to move on. You don't want to be rage baiting people. It's not a good way to build a brand or a following. But yeah, if you didn't go out of your way to piss anyone off, you got nothing to worry about. This next method is a little bit different and it's slightly manipulative. And I'll be honest, I sometimes do it when I'm feeling a little bit cheeky. Because sometimes you won't want to just ignore your haters. Sometimes there's a little devil inside you that wants to respond. But remember the first rule of the internet, do not feed the trolls. So what you do is you do respond, but you don't respond with rage. You don't match their energy. What you do is something so manipulative. It's something loads of ex-girlfriends have done throughout the years. You kill them with kindness. Instead of telling the guy who said I sucked to go fuck himself, I'll say something really manipulative like, thank you so much for reading my article. I really appreciate it. Have a lovely day. This right here is peak femme fatale Luciferian black magic. The trick is, you need to mean it when you write it. You need to have like a psycho smile on your face, and you need to actually feel those emotions when you're replying to this hater. You don't want to do it with like this sarcastic voice in your mind. You don't want to be angry on the inside while you're writing this. You actually want to be cool as a cucumber. It is the greatest Uno reverse card in the universe, bar none, and I'm not gonna lie, I quite like doing it whenever I do have a hater comment on my work. I don't do it often, because it is devilish, but sometimes, you know, when you want to clap back and you don't want to clap back in an obvious way, you want to be more feminine, a bit more ex-girlfriend kind of vibe, this is the way to go. But be warned, because some people will get really pissed off when you do this, and they'll just start spamming you. They'll end up commenting on like 50 of your posts just to try and get back at you, but you don't respond. It's the classic no contact rule, right? It's what all those cringe lords do when they're trying to win their ex back. They go no contact. And this just drives them crazy because you've basically opened a loop in their mind and they're trying to close it. Don't worry if they're spamming you though, because ironically this is actually helping. This is why it's evil. It's helping you. It's giving you more engagement, and the platform will probably push your post to more and more people. So this is how you can be an evil genius when it comes to haters. Now, I know I've just given you some black magic, but we need to get real now. Because sometimes someone will leave a comment you don't like, and your instinctive response will be to just label them as a hater, because you are selfish, egotistical, and defensive of your work. And I'm not saying I'm above this, but you need to know that this is a trap, because not everyone who criticizes you is a hater. Maybe they have a point. Maybe they're raising some concerns and they're bringing them to your attention. This has happened to me before. About a year ago, I wrote a Medium article where I was criticizing another writer's advice. He'd written a post giving writing advice, saying that you shouldn't write a lot. Writing a lot is not a good way to get better at writing. And I disagree with that because I used the opposite approach. I did write a lot, and I saw pretty good success on the platform. We're around the same size when it comes to follower count, so I thought I would share my perspective on the matter instead. Someone found my post and left a huge comment, a massive comment, really long comment, basically calling me out on my tone, on how dismissive I was, how I was being a bit of a dick. And at the time I was reading this thing and it actually hurt me inside. It hurt being scolded by this person I didn't know. But in hindsight, I actually think they have a point. That wasn't my initial reaction. At first, I thought, this guy's a hater. Who the hell is he? I've got followers, he doesn't. I've got views, he doesn't. All this ego stuff, right? But in truth, he had a point. In my head, I saw this guy's post. I instantly had an idea and I just wrote about it. But there was definitely, I think, some Machiavellian shit going on in the background that I wasn't aware of yet. Either way, the lesson I'm trying to communicate to you here is, not everyone who criticizes you is a hater. Don't react so emotionally to being criticized, because they might have a point. So we've started to enter the deep end now, and be warned because the things I'm going to share with you are going to get more and more radical as we reach the end of this video. But since you've made it this far, you might as well keep going, because you're doing really well. For this point, we need to talk about a phenomenon called projection. You see, when someone hates on your work or throws hate at you, they're not actually throwing hate at you. They don't know you. Everything they know about you is just a construction they've created in their own mind. All based on their own experiences, all based on the things that they've consumed. All they're doing is taking the experiences they've had in their own lives, they're having an emotional reaction to the things you've written, and they're forming automatic connections between those things. But this is not objective, this is biased projection, because we're all biased. We all see the world through our subjective lens. This is our ego. We do not observe things objectively. This is why we can watch the exact same movie and either like it or dislike it. It's the same thing, but we are biased. And haters do this all the time because they're simply projecting onto you. And don't think it's just haters that do this. You do this too, just as I do. You project onto everyone you follow. You project onto everyone you see in the world, and you're projecting onto me right now. I am a figment of your imagination. You do not know who I am. Everything you think you know about me is based on the connections and experiences you've had. That's projection. So when someone attacks you online, that's got nothing to do with you. The reason they're doing it is because they have this movie in their head where they're the hero and you're the villain for this moment. As soon as they come across another piece of content that they react to emotionally, then they'll have a new villain to fight. This is how it works. Now, I know I said you were biased a few moments ago, but we need to go deeper on the topic of bias. Because this next one is a very, very toxic way of dealing with haters. And I'm seeing this become more and more prominent among popular influencers nowadays. And what's really troubling is they don't just do this with their haters. They even do it with their supporters, with their followers, their fans. And I'm not gonna lie, I've done this as well on a very smaller scale than a lot of these big influencers. So to explain what I mean, just imagine you're a very popular influencer for a second, and someone's just left a hateful comment on your work. Your automatic response will be defensive. And while you're being defensive, your mind will make rationalizations based on your own subjective values. For example, you'll say things like, who does this guy think he is? I have 1 million followers, he doesn't have any. I get millions of views per video, he doesn't get any. I make 100k per month, he doesn't make any. Why should I care about anything he has to say? He has nothing of value worth saying. This is a classic ego defense mechanism. And it does work. People can fool themselves with this way of thinking forever. People do. But this is a trap because it deludes you into thinking you can't do anything wrong. It gives you a messiah complex. And then when something cataclysmic does happen in your life, and you're there wondering what the fuck happened, you can't come to grips with it because you've created this identity, you've created this larger-than-life persona that isn't actually real. When you have a superiority complex like this, everything gets brushed off. But the problem is, sometimes you will be getting criticized for a valid reason. Sometimes people won't even be criticizing you, they'll be pointing out a blind spot to help you, but you'll think that they don't know what they're talking about because of this image you have of your ego in your mind. And this is extremely dangerous. This is how people commit murder and think they can get away with it. This is how people can convince themselves that they can rape children and get away with it. Do you see how dangerous this is? This is what an out-of-control ego can do. Trust me, you do not want to be ruled by your biases. If you keep creating these bullshit narratives to defend your ego, you could land in serious trouble. And it's really disappointing to see these really big popular influencers use this method to try and justify what they're doing to themselves. They can't see that they're falling into a trap that they've created, and they might never be able to escape from it. So now that I've talked about a really horrible way to deal with haters, let's actually talk about love. And trust me, this is relevant. So this is a really interesting idea, and I hope you can appreciate what I'm saying here. We've spent a lot of this video talking about haters and hate. But let me ask you something. Do you think hate can exist without love? There can be no hate without love. Because if there was only hate, then it wouldn't be hate. Does that make sense? Hate can only exist if there is a love. And when I say love, I'm speaking from like the petty human definition of love, the human emotion, not the absolute love, like infinite consciousness kind of love. The point is, hate and love are not polar opposites. They're actually two sides of the same coin, because you can't have one without the other. Think of the yin and yang symbol for me. It's that. Hate and love are dualities. So understand that a person might hate your work, and they might hate it a lot. But at the same time, that hater who hates your work loves something else with so much passion and desire that they would die for it. For example, let's say you wrote a post about politics, and your post on politics challenged the haters' beliefs about the world. It challenged their identity, where they see themselves in this world. To many people, if you challenge their identity, you will be a threat to them. Not just on a political basis, but on an existential basis. So the reason they hate what you're writing is because they love the identity they've created. Do you see how hate is just an eyelash away from love in this example? If someone goes out of their way to hate you, that's because you moved something in them. That's not only a powerful skill to have, it also means that that person is filled with love, just not for what you've created. Okay. I know I've covered a lot of stuff in this video, but I've saved the best for last. And if you're still here, you've done really well, and I want to commend you for staying locked in. But I need to offer a final word of warning, okay? I need you to be open-minded if you're going to watch this part, alright? Because this is quite radical. In fact, you might hear me say this and think I'm absolutely insane. But seeing as you've made it this far, you might as well stay until the very end. So, without further ado, here it is. Haters don't exist. Haters are just a creation of your mind. I'm not saying the comment doesn't exist. I'm not saying that someone out there didn't leave a comment on your post. But it's your interpretation of the comment that's turning it into hate. Okay, so let me break this down. You assign meaning to everything. Your mind is a meaning creation machine. You are the one who assigns intent to everything. When someone leaves a comment, you're the one deciding it's an attack on you. And this is a decision that you're making and have been making for your entire life, your entire existence. Now, I understand if you think this is bullshit. This is a very deep insight, and many people will not be able to understand what I'm saying. But go to your experience. Are you or are you not assigning intent to everything? Do you not walk past people in the street and see them look at you and interpret it in a certain way, even though, from their perspective, they may have not intended anything at all? This happens all the time. What is that voice inside your head? The voice that's biased, the voice that comments, that judges. This is all you assigning meaning to everything out there. Look, if you still think this is bullshit, just answer this question for me. Do you not see yourself as an individual? And are you or are you not interpreting all of reality through your lens of being an individual? Do you not assign meaning to things? Do you not have beliefs about something that other people don't? To go back to the movie example, This is why you can have two people watch the exact same thing and have completely different takeaways from the movie. You are not objective. Your mind is creating meaning all the time. This is the truth about haters. They are not real. They are figments of your imagination. They are things you're constructing because you think you are your ego, your sense of self, who you think you are, your name, where you're from, what you're like, how you behave, what you dislike, what you love. All of this stuff. You create meaning because you think you are that thing, when really, you're just that thing sitting there. You're nothing. But I'm not going to get into all that because it's way too deep. Way too deep for this simple video on how to deal with haters. But just understand that haters are not real. You are creating haters. And you're doing it with your mind, and you've been doing it forever. If you want more deep stuff like this, leave it in the comments. Click the first link in the description if you want to get my free magnetic writing guide. If you're serious about building an audience in 2025 and want to start making money online as a writer, click the second link in the description below. And if you found this video helpful, I think you'll like this next video where I show you how to make old ideas feel new, just like Quentin Tarantino. I'll see you there. Bye bye.